Whereas Gnani or Mahatma always understands that body, mind, and intellect is infinite self. That's all the difference. The difference is ignorance. Ignorance of the real self has to be removed through Gnana. Now, any ignorance has to be removed only through Gnana, only through knowledge. There is no other way. If I have chemistry ignorance, I have to remove through chemistry knowledge. If I have physics ignorance, I have to remove through physics ignorance, because physics knowledge. If I have ignorance of self, it has to be removed through only Gnana. That's why Nahi Gnanena Sadrisham Pavitramih Mudade. Gnana alone can liberate. There's nothing else which can liberate you. Gnana alone can lead to Mukti. Atma Gnana. This self-knowledge. What is the self-knowledge? The I am is infinite self, Brahman. Not limited by body, mind, and intellect. This clarity is called Gnana. Now, how does this clarity comes? Through a process of Viveka, discrimination. Discrimination is what is Atma, what is Anatma, what is self, what is not self has to be separated out. And clearly understood, myself is infinite. That's all. And this is called Viveka, discrimination. Along with Viveka, Vairagya comes. What is non-self? The body, mind, intellect is not me. That understanding comes. So a Gnani or Mahatma who has realized this is called Paramahamsa. Paramahamsa, Hamsa means a swan. A swan, it seems the swan has a special ability. It can separate out milk from the water and only drink milk. I wish we have a swan at our house. Whenever the milkman gives the milk, only take out the milk and drop water. Pay for milk. That's possible with the swan, supposed to be. Okay, the swan has a special ability to separate milk from water. So, Gnani or Mahatma or Paramahamsa, he is called Supreme Swan. He is able to separate out Atma from Anatma, the self from the non-self. He has a clear discrimination. And where the discrimination comes? Only in the intellect, nowhere else. Discrimination cannot come in the eyes or ears or tongue. It has to be in the intellect. So Gnana has to be sharp, understanding has to happen only in the intellect. That's why human life is very precious, because human beings have the intellect, which is the highest tool which is given, highest tool. So because of the intellect, human beings have been able to achieve science, technology, and go to the moon, go to the Mars. The same intellect can help you to become free from samsara, bondage, from the ignorance of the self. So Gnani is called Paramahamsa because he is the supreme swan. He is able to separate Atma and Anatma. Like a swan separates milk from water. Now Hamsa has another meaning. Hamsa is called Jiva. A Jiva, when you breathe in, there is a sound. So Hamsa is the sound made by the breath. Hamsa. That means Jiva is also called Hamsa in Sanskrit. Now Paramahamsa is one who has understood Soham, I am that. I am that. I am is the pure awareness, Brahman. He has understood. This understanding is clarity. And this clarity is appeared in Gnana, intellect only. So don't be under the impression that Atma Gnana means a new experience. It's a new clarity. Absolute crystal clarity. What is Atma? What is Anatma? And the Atma is Paramatma, the supreme self, where there's no boundary, there's no limitation. Atma is Paramatma. Jivatma, Paramatma, oneness is called Atmadna. Now, Sri Shankaracharya in Aparokshanubhuti beautifully explains the process of Gnana Yoga. In the last two classes, we heard some introduction to Gnana Yoga. Now, today, I'm going to give you the teaching of Sri Shankaracharya in Aparokshanubhuti about Gnana Yoga. So let us look at the teaching of Sri Shankara about Jnana Yoga. Sri Shankaracharya explains Jnana Yoga in the context of Ashtanga Yoga. Okay, because Ashtanga Yoga is given by Patanjali Maharshi, and many people are familiar with Ashtanga Yoga. They are not familiar with Jnana Yoga. Ashtanga Yoga, you know, all over the world people celebrate International Yoga Day. Yoga is very popular world everywhere. Everybody in the world knows yoga. Ashtanga Yoga. So Ashtanga Yoga is called so because of the 8 steps involved. The 8 steps are Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. Sri Shankaracharya takes the terminology of Ashtanga Yoga because we are familiar with that and teaches us about Jnana Yoga. So now, what is the difference between Ashtanga Yoga and Jnana Yoga? We should be very clear. Ashtanga Yoga is a system of mastery of the body, mind, and intellect. I want to master my body. I want to sit in a posture for half an hour, 1 hour. I want to control my breath. So that is Ashtanga Yoga. So here, obviously, if you want to control your body and mind, ego is to be there. Ego is required. Ego is involved in Ashtanga Yoga. And that's why Ashtanga Yoga is a dualistic system, Dvaita, where the consciousness, Purusha, and matter called Prakriti, there are 2 separate entities. Ashtanga Yoga is based on a dualistic system of Sankhya Yoga, where Prakriti and Purusha are separate entities. The Purusha, the consciousness, dualistic system. Purusha and Prakriti are different. And to practice Ashtanga Yoga, you need a strong willpower, ego. Yogis are able to sit for 1 hour, 2 hours, 10 days without food, meditation. By finding out the source of the ego as Brahman. So, while yoga involves working on the ego, Jnana involves dropping of the ego. When the ego is responsible for us, the duality, Dvaita, I am separate from the world, the Ishvara or Bhagavan is separate from me, Jiva, Jagat, Ishvara, the separation, sense of separation called duality is because of ego. So Jnana is dropping of the ego by tracing the source of the ego, Brahman, Atma. So there are different systems, yoga and union. What is the union? Jivatma is to merge with the Paramatma. There's a merger has to happen. The yoga assumes that there is a separation to begin with. On the other hand, Jnana Yoga, the teaching of Jnana Yoga or understanding of Jnana Yoga, separation is illusion. There's no never separation. The wave can never be separate from water. The wave separate from water is the illusion. So we have to get rid of illusion through Jnana. This is the process of Jnana Yoga. Jnana Yoga is Advaita or non-dualistic system where Purusha and Prakriti are not separate. Prakriti or matter is an appearance of consciousness. Only consciousness is the reality. So now, there is a lot of confusion created in the spiritual world because people take yoga philosophy and put into Jnana. Okay? And Jnana philosophy put into yoga. There's a mixture is happening. Confusion is happening. For example, you might have heard many teachers, spiritual teachers, make your mind blank, make your mind silent, make your mind thoughtless. So the thoughtless word comes from the yoga. Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Yoga Sutra says, Yogaha Chitta Vritti Nirodha. Stopping of the thoughts is called yoga. When you stop the thoughts, you are in yoga. That's Yoga Sutra. Whereas Vedanta or Jnana Yoga says, don't stop the thoughts. Never stop the thoughts. Because thoughts are important for you to get jnana. Okay? So Jnana Yoga gives importance to the right thoughts while eliminating wrong thoughts. How do you eliminate wrong thoughts? Through the process of discrimination called Viveka. Atma, Anatma Viveka, self, non-self discrimination. Nitya, Anitya Viveka. This discrimination is helping you to get rid of wrong thoughts. But finally, right thought has to be, you have to hold on to right thought. Strengthen the right thought. What is the right thought? Aham Brahmasmi, I am Brahman. Sarvam Khalu Brahma, all this is Brahman. So this thought has to be strengthened. And every thought, other thought has to be dropped. So that is Jnana Yoga. So please understand distinction between Jnana Yoga and Ashtanga Yoga very clearly. Ashtanga Yoga gives importance to making the mind thoughtless. So, mind is thoughtless. Mind is thoughtless when in deep sleep. So, Vedanta teaches us that deep sleep you cannot get any jnana. Similarly, in Nirvikalpa Samadhi you cannot get jnana because mind becomes thoughtless. So, for jnana requires a clarity coming out of listening to Vedantic teaching. That means a thought that I am Brahman has to be strengthened through Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa, process called Jnana. While Patanjali Yoga Sutra says Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi, 8 steps for making the mind, for entering into Nirvikalpa Samadhi, thoughtless state. Vedanta says enter into a thought of pure thought state, I am Brahman. Hold on to thought called I am Brahman. Don't eliminate the thought. By eliminate wrong thoughts, have the right thought. Wrong understanding you eliminate by clear clarity. Then you are holding on to thought called I am Brahman. Over a period of time, I am Brahman thought becomes irrelevant, not required. See, for example, I am a man. I don't have to hold the thought that I am a man because I am a man is deep thought to me. It's a deep, ugly ingrained. So like that, I am Brahman. When the thought becomes very deep, it is called Sahaja Samadhi or natural state. So Vedanta gives importance to Sahaja Samadhi, not Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So many people are confused with things that Nirvikalpa Samadhi is enlightenment, liberation. No, as per Vedanta, Nirvikalpa Samadhi is not enlightenment. Nirvikalpa Samadhi is a blissful state. It is just like a deep sleep state. No jnana is possible in Nirvikalpa Samadhi. So Vedanta says, I am Nirvikalpa. Nirvikalpa Samadhi is a mental state. Mind becomes dormant like deep sleep. Vedanta says, discriminate Atma and Anatma, Nitya and Anitya, and realize you are Nirvikalpa. Atma is always Nirvikalpa. Brahman is always Nirvikalpa. Means there are no thoughts. Brahman is free from any modification. This realization is called Nirvikalpa. Now, this Nirvikalpa Samadhi, Nirvikalpa in Vedanta and Nirvikalpa in Yoga are not the same. Nirvikalpa in Vedanta is an understanding, clarity. Atma is Nirvikalpa. In Yoga, Nirvikalpa means making mind thoughtless. So if you don't understand this, we are confused with the Yoga and Vedanta. So Vedanta is about transcending the mind and recognizing the non-dual nature of the universe. There's only one reality called Brahman. So in Vedanta, there's no achievement at all. Oh, one day I achieved enlightenment, one day I got liberated. There's no achievement or liberation. There's only removal of ignorance, ajnana. Whereas a Nirvikalpa Samadhi in Yoga is an achievement because you cannot make the mind silent. It's an achievement. Jnana is not an achievement. Jnana is removal of ignorance. So this understanding you have to have. So Sri Shankaracharya uses the yoga terminology to teach us about jnana. To give an understanding of yoga, yoga has 8 steps, Ashtanga yoga. Yama means external discipline. How do I live in the world? Niyama means internal discipline. Asana means a sitting posture. Pranayama, you've seen people, yogic postures, yogic people sitting in Padmasana and all. Pranayama is breath control. Pratyahara is withdrawal of sense organs. Take the mind inward. Dharana means concentration. Dhyana means meditation. Samadhi means absorption. The focus of Patanjali Yoga Sutra is Samadhi, which means attain Nirvikalpa Samadhi, a thoughtless state, just exactly like a deep sleep. So now, Vedanta says yoga is very useful. Vedanta does not condemn yoga. Vedanta says it is very useful for controlling the mind, mastering the mind, purification of the mind. But Vedanta says yoga is not necessary for liberation. Yoga is a preliminary step for controlling the mind, mastering the mind. Jnana is the final step. Okay. So Vedanta yoga is required for you in the initial step. For example, initial step, you want to sit silently, you can't sit silently. Do pranayama, mind becomes silent. Then meditate. So after certain stage of maturity, yoga is not required for Atmadnana or Mukti. It may be required for your good health. It may be required for your body, mind mastery. But yoga, Atmadnana is clarity. So Vedanta gives importance to yoga. It is important in the initial stages, but it's not important in the final stages. This understanding you do. Vedanta does not condemn yoga. Vedanta respects yoga, but tells that yoga is like a primary school, jnana is like a college. Now, Vedanta, while Yoga Sutra has 8 steps, Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi, Jnana Marga has 3 stages, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa. Shravana means listening. Shravana is listening. Manana means removing our doubts. Nididhyasa means internalizing the truth. Okay. There are 3 steps called Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa. There are 3 words, but they are not 3 different activities. There's one activity. It's only one activity told by 3 names. So you should not get confused. Patanjali 8 steps are there. 8 steps are different activities. Whereas in Vedanta, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa is one activity. It's only one activity done in 3 ways. One activity done in 3 ways. What is that one activity? To strengthen the thought called I am Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. To strengthen the thought called Sarvam Khalu is Brahma. All this is Brahman. The God is everywhere. I am Brahman. I am God. I am consciousness. I am Brahman. Everything is Brahman. This thought has to be strengthened. The strengthening of the thought involves 3 activities, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa. But only one goal, to strengthen the thought called I am Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi, and Sarvam Khalu the Brahma. So don't confuse that Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa are 3 steps. There are 3 activities for one purpose. Okay. So what thoughts you have to entertain? I am Brahman. The world, Jagat Mithya, world is unreal. Brahman alone is the reality. I am liberated, Muktoham. I am pure, Shuddhoham. This thought has to be strengthened. And every other thought, every other impression has to be eliminated through a process of clarity, Jnana. So this is called Jnana Marga. Now Shravana, what is Shravana? Shravana is listening. Shravana is listening to the teachings. Now, there are hundreds and thousands of teachers. Everybody teaches. Now, we are actually focusing on the teaching of Vedanta. The teaching, hundreds of teachers, many of them, they teach from their own experience. That becomes individualistic. Vedanta is the universal teaching. It is based on Sriman Narayana. From Narayana, Parabrahma, from Sadashiva, this teaching has come. It has not come from the human mind. No human mind is involved in Vedantic teaching, Vedanta text. So Vedanta involves Upanishads. Okay, there are several Upanishads you have heard: Ishavasya Upanishad, Kena Upanishad, Katha Upanishad, many Upanishads you have heard. So Vedanta involves Upanishads. The listening to the teaching of Vedanta from Guru. Guru is important. Who is Guru? Now we call many people as Guru. Oh, he is Guru, he is Guru, he is Guru, he is my Guru. We'll do Guru Puja, everything we do. But definition of Vedanta is very clear. Guru is one who gives you Vedantic teaching. The teaching of Vedanta in a very clear way. He should be a teacher. The Guru, he should be Shrotriya, means he should teach Vedanta in a very clear way to you. Vedanta is a science, it's a well-developed science, contributed by many rishis. So that teaching has to be given by Guru. What Guru teaches and what Vedanta teaches should be in sync. So that is Jnana. That's called Shravana. What is the role of a Guru? Guru brings the clarity in teaching of Vedanta. He brings the clarity through examples, through illustrations, through a methodology of teaching called Sampradaya. He brings the clarity. Now, the Guru is able to give Atma Jnana to you. Atma Jnana can be given. Atma Jnana, self-realization can be transferred. The knowledge can be transferred. Like physics knowledge in science books can be transferred to a physics teacher. Atma Jnana, Vedantic knowledge can be transferred to Guru's teaching. But the realization that I am Brahman has to happen by you. Guru can give you knowledge, all knowledge required to help you to recognize truth. But recognition of truth has to be done by you. It is like Guru can give you food, but ultimately food you have to eat. So there is a distinction. What is the role of the Guru? Guru can give you, provide you the teaching in a way you can understand. So now Vedanta has many Shravana Granthas. Study of Shravana Grantha comes in the Shravana part. Upanishads are Shravana Grantha, Bhagavad Gita is a Shravana Grantha, okay, Viveka Chudamani is a Shravana Grantha, Tattva Bodha is a Shravana Grantha. There are many Shravana Granthas. So now, the example I give you is putting a seed. A seed has to be put into soil. So Shravana is, the Guru is putting a seed. Seed is coming from Vedamata. Guru is like a mother who is putting the seed into your mind. The seed of Brahmadnana. I am Brahman. Sarvam Khalu Brahman. The seed is given by Guru. Seed is planted by Guru. For that you have to listen carefully, respectfully to Guru and teaching of Vedanta. Vedamata gives the seed. Now the Manana, now Guru has given the teaching. When you interact with the world, a lot of doubts will come to you. Everything is Brahman. How I am interacting with the world? Why there are problems in the world? Why there is adharma and dharma? All these doubts will come. The doubts have to be eliminated. How do you eliminate? Don't suppress the doubts. Clarify with the Guru or clarify with Vedanta teaching. Okay? So that is called Manana. Remove all doubts. So now the doubts also can come. Somebody can come and say, what are you studying Vedanta? Vedanta is a useless subject. You study my religion. My religion is superior. Okay, people in my religion go to heaven. Please come to my religion. There may be a lot of viewpoints which will come to you. Scientist says, what is their science is very important. So a lot of doubts will come when you interact with the world. All these doubts have to be clarified deeply because ultimately intellectual clarity has to come. So that process is called Manana. And as you do Manana, you develop the qualities of the enlightened. It's called Sthita Prajna. So that quality you have to evaluate. Am I developing the qualities of Sthita Prajna? So there are Manana Granthas, like there are Shravana Granthas, books for Shravana. There are Manana Granthas. Brahma Sutra is a Manana Grantha, Advaita Makaranda is a Manana Grantha. There are many Manana Granthas, Advaita Siddhi, Nishkarme Siddhi. There are many Manana Granthas which will remove all your doubt. Every kind of doubt, every kind of philosopher can ask a doubt, every kind of religion can ask a doubt, a question. So all those questions are clarified in Manana Grantha. So then comes, it is like, Manana is like, I can say, it is like removing the weed. The seed is sown by the Guru, the weed is there. Weed is unwanted plants. The unwanted weed has to be removed. That is called Manana. Then comes to Nididhyasa. You have to strengthen one thought now. Brahma Satya, Jagan Nitya. Brahman alone is the reality, world is unreal. I am Brahman, Aham Brahmasmi. And world is also appearance of Brahman. This thought has to be strengthened. I am Muktoham, I am liberated. I am Shantoham. All these thoughts, Akandoham, I am infinite. All these thoughts have to be strengthened. The thoughts are Vedantic teaching. Typically, these thoughts are something related to Brahmadnanavali Mala Sloka, okay, or you call it as Nirvana Shatakam. All these thoughts have to be strengthened. So these are called Nididhyasa Granthas. The book specifically for Nididhyasa, helping you with Nididhyasa. They are called Drakdashya Viveka. Now please understand, Shravana Grantha, Manana Grantha, Nididhyasa Grantha has to be studied under the guidance of a competent Guru. Who is competent Guru? Somebody who is called Brahmanishta, somebody who is inner realization of the truth. Then only your understanding will be clearer. Otherwise, what will happen? Lot of vagueness will be there in our understanding. We cannot get established in the truth. So this is the whole process of Jnana Yoga, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa. If Sri Shankaracharya takes the Nididhyasa, the Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa, it's one process. It's one process. Shravana, you listen to the truth from Guru. Manana, you contemplate of the truth and remove unwanted thoughts. Nididhyasa, you internalize the truth. So don't think that these are three different steps. There's one activity, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa. Now, how many times you have to do Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa? Is there an end to it? Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa has to be done repeatedly. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa. There are various Shravana Granthas, various Manana Granthas, various Nididhyasa Granthas. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa has to be done until you are established. I am Brahman, I am liberated. That clarity has to emerge. So now, that is called realization or enlightenment. Now, realization or enlightenment, nobody gives you certificate. Like you are a graduate, like you are a master, then nobody gives you certificate. The realization internally, you should be very, very clear. I am Brahman, I am Mukta. That conviction has to come to you. How that conviction should be? Just like you have a conviction that I am a body, I am a man, I am a woman, I am a husband. The conviction is there. You don't have to think about it. Like that, I am Brahman has to be established. Now, this is called Jnana. Now, many people think that, oh, read some couple of books on Vedanta and then say, oh, I am Brahman. So that I am Brahman is a Brahma, illusion. It has to be as deep-rooted as I am the body, I am a man, I am a husband. That thought is so deep-rooted in you, like that I am Brahman thought should be deep-rooted in you. That is realization. Now, who is the judge of that? Guru is not judging. It is you who have to judge. Have I reached or not? Until that point of time, you have to continue Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa until you reach the destination. So Sri Shankaracharya takes this Nididhyasa process, Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa process in detail. Compares it with the Yoga Shastra. So we are taking up shloka number 101 to 125 in Aparoksha Anubhuti. Okay. Without constant practice, you cannot establish self. So it is not that I will do Shravana, constant practice is Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa. Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa. To establish in thought, I am Brahman. Sarvam Khalu Brahma. Everything is Brahman. This thought has to be very deep rooted. As deep rooted as I am the body, as deep rooted as I am the man, I am the woman. That deep rooting has to happen. For that, you have to, this plant, the seed has to be sown. It has to be nurtured. Weeds have to be removed. Shravana, Manana, Nidhyasa has to be continue for until you are fully established in that. So they have to, seeker has to constantly meditate or do nididhyasa. When I say nididhyasa, it's all three in order: Shravana, Manana, Nidhyasa. When you do Shravana from Guru, nididhyasa happens. When you do Manana, nididhyasa happens. When you do nididhyasa exclusively, nididhyasa happens. It's a nididhyasa process. Yama is an external practice. In Patanjali Maharshi says, Yama means, Patanjali Maharshi says, Yama, Niyama, Asana, Pranayama, Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi. Yama means external practices. How do you interact with the world? Okay. What is the interaction with the world? Ahimsa. You should practice non-violence. You should practice Satya. You should tell the truth. You should practice Asteya. Don't steal from anybody. You should practice celibacy or brahmacharya or moderation in sex. And you should do aparigraha. Don't covet for the wealth of others. So this is the teaching of Patanjali Maharshi. 5 niyamas. 5 yamas. Vedanta accepts these 5 yamas are valid. They are practices. But Vedanta gives more importance to understanding. When the understanding is clear, the practice becomes automatic. So, for example, I can tell my child, don't eat sugar, don't eat sugar. The child will control. But when I'm not there, he'll eat sugar. Okay? But as the child grows up, I tell the child, by eating sugar, you'll get diabetes. Once the understanding becomes clear, the child will not eat sugar. So, Vedanta gives that importance to understanding so that other things will follow. So, Yama, according to, as per Vedanta, as per Shankaracharya, the world consists of Shabda, Sparsha, Rupa, Rasa, Gandha. World is nothing but inputs from our sense organs, 5 sense organs: eyes, ears, tongue, nose, and touch. Okay. So, through clarity of teaching, understand this everything in the world, what appears is mithya or unreal. How the world is unreal? That unreality of the world, you have to get teaching from the Guru, very clear. So when you understand the world is unreal, mithya, then you will not have any interaction with the world. You will not have any desire. So asteya means stealing. I don't have a desire for stealing because the world is, any objects are unreal. And I will tell the truth. Because for me, there's no motivation to tell the untruth. So that, then ahimsa, I don't do any violence to anybody because there is no other. Everything is mithya. So aparigraha or not coveting the wealth of another becomes very easy because everything is mithya. Brahmacharya becomes, celibacy becomes easy because everything in the world is mithya or unreal. So Yama becomes very real and natural for you without effort when Jnana comes. What is that? Brahma Satya, Jagan Mithya. World is unreal. The focus is on understanding, clarity. So then Niyama, Patanjali Maharshi says of some internal practices. Yama is external practice, Niyama is internal practice. What is Niyama? Patanjali Maharshi says Shaucha. You should maintain the purity of the body. Okay? Cleanliness of the body and mind is called Shaucha. Santosha. You should be satisfied, contented with what you get. You should do tapas. You should bring the discipline in your life. You should do swadhyaya, self-study. Become self-aware or study of the scriptures. Then you have to surrender to Ishvara, Ishvara Pranidhana. This is the teaching of Veda Patanjali Maharshi. So Vedanta says these are all valid. These are all important. But Vedanta says, understand, when your understanding changes, your behavior changes, your internal purification happens. So what is the understanding? Satchidananda Brahma. Brahman alone is reality. So then hold on to the thought. Brahman alone is real. Satchidananda Brahma. I am that Brahman. Hold that thought. Eliminate all other thoughts. All thoughts which are coming from vasanas, impressions from the society, eliminate them. Strengthen the thought called I am Brahman. So now when you strengthen this thought called I am Brahman, Brahman is Nitya, eternal. Brahman is pure, Shuddha. So mind reflects the purity of Brahman. So mind becomes one with the Brahman. So the purity of what is internal purity, external purity, what Patanjali Maharishi says, becomes natural for you. Shaucha. Santosha, you become contented, peaceful, because you are Brahma. You are constantly thinking of the higher reality called Brahman. Discipline becomes very easy because mind becomes indisciplined. I want this, I don't want this, I want. Mind goes after many things. Now the mind constantly focuses on Brahman, it becomes very disciplined. Swadhyaya means self-awareness becomes very much. And Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa is Swadhyaya. Ishvara Pranidhana, you surrender to Ishvara not because you believe in God. Vedanta says, Vedanta does not give importance to believe in God. Vedanta gives understand God, know God. Once you know God, there's no belief required. You surrender to God. God is a clarity of knowledge. So God is the total order in the universe. There is an order in the universe at the cosmic level, at the individual level, at atomic level, subatomic level. Your body mind is complex, working with the order. That order is called Dharma, and Dharma is Ishvara. So surrender to Ishvara means do your duty, do your karma, and accept everything as Ishvara Prasada. So now the surrendering to Ishvara is not a belief system. Surrendering to Ishvara is Jnana. So everything when you do with Jnana, it becomes clarity. So Vedanta gives importance to Jnana. For example, there is a surgeon who does the surgery. He cuts open, removes something bad thing from the body and does stitching. So he does it because he has a clarity, he has a Jnana, he has studied it. Then he is able to do perfectly. Now imagine the surgeon has not studied. There is no Jnana. Then he'll cut something, open something, the patient will be died. So Vedanta says Ajnana is dangerous. Jnana gives you clarity. Jnana gives you perfection in whatever you do. Focus on clarity through Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa. Then Patanjali, Sri Shankaracharya brings the word called Tyaga. So Tyaga means giving up. Now we have many people understand Tyaga is very important. Tyage naike amrtatva manashu. Tyaga alone can lead to liberation. So says Upanishad. Kaivalya Upanishad. And every Upanishad says sannyasa has to be taken. Sannyasa has to be done. Tyaga, Ramakrishna Paramahamsa says Bhagavad Gita, essence of Bhagavad Gita is Tyaga. Gita, if you say, it becomes Tyaga, Tyagi. So Tyagi means what? Now we understand Tyaga means giving up. Okay, now Tyaga does not mean, Tyaga also means giving up. But then in the giving up, there's a pain. If I have to give up something, there's a pain in me. Okay, because it belongs to me. So if I have to give up my job, it hurts. If I have to give up my family, it hurts. There's a pain. Tyaga is associated with pain. But there's a painless Tyaga possible. Tyaga is possible without pain. That is through Jnana. When you understand that nothing in the world can give me happiness, only Atma can give me happiness, then you are ready to give something, all things useless. For example, when every 15 days, every 1 month, we clean the house. A lot of useless things, newspaper, some cardboard boxes, we give it out, throw it out, waste. Every day we throw out waste because it's not useful. So a lot of things, everything in the world is useless for us, for our Ananda, happiness. Only Atma is useful for, Atma is required for us, Ananda. So once you understand that, Tyaga becomes very natural and easy. Otherwise, Tyaga becomes very painful. So this Tyaga word is called Sannyasa. Now we all start thinking, see, actually there are this wrong understanding of Sannyasa is there. I heard one place, one of my friends, one of my person whom I know, at the time of deathbed, he says, he is dying. He is in the hospital. He says, I want to take sannyasa because sannyasa can give me mukti. Then somebody comes and gives him sannyasa and he dies. Now that is actually not sannyasa. So there's a wrong understanding of sannyasa. Sannyasa means renounce with jnana. Understand everything in life other than Atma is mithya, unreal. Atma alone is satya and Atma alone can give us happiness. This understanding makes giving up easy. Like a child is playing with marbles. If you remove one marble, child will feel unhappy. Okay. But as the child grows up, child is not bothered with marbles. Now he is interested in the girl. He is interested in the car. So his interest shifts. But marble is not interested because marble is useless for him. Similarly, everything in the world is useless for my happiness is sannyasa. Sannyasa is a mental maturity. As the person becomes evolved, mature, he becomes sannyasi mentally. Now, sannyasa has an outer connotation. Taking sannyasa means leave the house, leave the family, leave the job, wear an orange dress or saffron dress. Now, this is symbolic. Wearing saffron dress means saffron symbolizes jnana. So, sannyasi is saying, my whole body and complex is burnt with jnana. Adnana is getting burnt every day. Now, how adnana can get burnt with the dress? If you put a saffron dress, adnana will get burnt. If you put a green dress, body will get cooled. How it is possible? It has nothing to do with dress. It is symbolic. The saffron dress means I am burning with jnana. What is jnana? Where does jnana come from? Jnana comes from trees, is it? Jnana comes from where? Tap water, like jnana comes. Jnana has to come through teaching. Shravana, Manana, Nidhyasa is the way the sannyasi spends his life. So sannyasi's whole life is dedicated to Shravana, Manana, Nidhyasa. That's called sannyasa. So that's why somebody leaves the house and takes up sannyasa. It is like for PhD, if you want to do, you have to get enrollment full time, then you have to join the PhD admission. Sannyasa is an admission where Shravana, Manana, Nidhyasa can be done 24 hours. That's called sannyasa. Now, can everybody do sannyasa? Not possible. Sannyasa is prescribed for people whose household responsibilities, the family responsibilities are over. No, sannyasa is important. I want to take sannyasa. That's not possible. Your family responsibility you have to complete. Then you are free from family responsibility. If you want to spend full time in study of Vedanta, you can take sannyasa. Without completing family responsibility, you cannot take sannyasa. Whereas some Bala Brahma, after graduation, somebody doesn't want to get married, he has no family responsibility, he can take sannyasa. Okay. Now, sannyasa is a lifestyle. Just like engineering is a lifestyle, medicine is a lifestyle, sannyasa is a lifestyle. What is a lifestyle? You don't have to earn for your food. Somebody will give you food so that you can full time spend on your study, Vedanta. Whereas Grahastha, he has to earn his food. He has to make a living. He has to take care of family. He has to earn. But Grahastha can as well be sannyasi. How? By dedicating his time to Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa. Okay? He can be sannyasi. So Grahastha does not mean he cannot be sannyasi. Grahastha can be sannyasi. Then why we have to understand the real meaning of sannyasa. Sannyasa means samyak nyasaha, right kind of deposit. When your mind is rightly deposited, that's called sannyasa. So deposit, you understand. I have money, 1 lakh rupees of money. Which bank I should invest? I want to invest in that bank. That gives high interest. Now, if you put in that bank, the interest will go, your principal will go. And everything will wipe out. Deposit in the right bank, otherwise the whole thing will go. So for us, the mind, we have to deposit. The deposit of the mind is called sannyasa. If you do wrong deposit of the mind, your whole life is gone, waste. You do wrong deposit of your time, your whole life is gone, waste. So if you are to do right deposit of a mind, you have to deposit your mind in Atma Dnana, which involves Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa. That is called sannyasa. Samyak nyasa vidhi sannyasa. The right kind of deposit is called sannyasa. Please understand, every teaching of Vedanta has 2 meanings. Sannyasa, dharma, everything has a rudartha and budartha. Rudartha means vyavaharika, lokarudi. Sannyasa means lokarudi, wearing a dress, okay, living in an ashram. It's called sannyasa. That's the rudartha. Gudartha is, sannyasa is one who is focused on Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa, whether it's a grahastha or brahmachari or vanaprastha, he is called sannyasa. Whereas a sannyasi who is wearing saffron dress but doesn't focus on Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa is not sannyasi. Sannyasi is the internal activity. Sri Shankaracharya says, constant focus on Atma Dnana is called Tyaga. So then what happens? All unwanted activities go, because if a person is studying for engineering, he will focus on engineering. He will not drop everything. That's called Tyaga. So Tyaga or sannyasa you have to develop. Now Tyaga also means another name for Atma. Sannyasa means another name for Atma. Atma is sannyasa. You don't have to take sannyasa. You are already sannyasi. That you have to recognize. How? Sannyasa means, in our way, our understanding is leaving the house, leaving the family, leaving the job, leaving everything what we do. Then go to ashram, grow a beard, wear a dress. That's called sannyasa. Now, when you understand Sarvam Khalu the Brahma, all this is Brahman. What is there for you to draw? House is Brahman, wife is Brahman, the job is Brahman, all that is there is Brahman. Everything belongs to Brahman, everything is Brahman. Then what will you draw? That understanding is sannyasa. So Atma is Nitya Sannyasi. How Atma is Nitya Sannyasi? In the waking state, the waking world, waking body comes up. In the dream state, dream world, dream body comes up. In the deep sleep state, all this disappear. But Atma is not attached to anything. So Atma is Nitya Sannyasi. Recognize your Nitya Sannyasi. See, please understand, Vedantic teaching is a statement of fact. It is not a call for action. So yoga is a statement, yoga is a call for action. You do pranayama means you do breathing. Vedanta, all the teaching of Vedanta is a statement of fact. Means it is a reality. You have to understand it, get a clarity. That's all Vedanta says. Vedanta says Jnana is the means for liberation and Jnana is the end of end for liberation. Jnana is the means and ends. So don't be under the impression that, so after study of Vedanta, I have to do practice. Vedanta is not a call for action. Vedanta is a call for clarity. Jnana is the means and end. So then Sri Shankaracharya speaks of Mauna. So there are all the yogis speak of Mauna. You have to practice silence. Silence is a spiritual practice. What is this Mauna? What is this spiritual practice? Silence. Now we know what is silence. When you are studying, don't make noise. You say to children, please don't make noise. Switch off the TV. Noise disturbs me. I want silence for my study. Means for concentration, I need silence. This silence can be disturbed by sound. There is a silence which can be disturbed by sound. Silence and sound come together. Right? So there is a silence which cannot be disturbed by sound, which is beyond silence and sound, which is called stillness, which is called Brahman. Brahman is Nischala Tattva, which does not move. That silence is called Brahman. Where there is no movement of any kind is called Nischala Tattva, Brahman. Satsangatve, Nisangatvam, Nisangatve, Nirmohatvam, Nirmohatve, Nischala Tattvam. Satsanga means associated with Jnani, associated with Atma is Nisangatva. You will become free from all associations. Nisangatve, Nirmohatvam, all attachment will drop. Then you are establishing Nischala Tattva, one which doesn't move. The silence of Brahman, the stillness of Brahman cannot be disturbed even anything happens in the world. Even if there is a war, the silence of Brahman cannot be disturbed because Brahman is supreme silence, supreme stillness. So that's why Jnani, even if he is in the middle of the war, he is silent. Sri Krishna Paramatma, when he is there in the war field, he is silent because Jnani is silence. He is establishing Brahman. Whereas mind seeks silence when there is no sound. So there are two types of silence. Silence which can be disturbed by sound, silence which cannot be disturbed by sound. So when the teaching of spiritual teaching is practice Mauna, it is not speaking about this silence which can be disturbed by sound. It is telling about the Atma Jnana, realized Brahman, which is stillness, which is beyond sound and silence. So I have heard a story of three monks. Three monks want to practice silence. They don't want to speak. They go to a cave. All of them sit 1 month over, 2 months over, 3 months over. One of the monks is very irritated by mosquitoes. He opens his mouth, says, there are too many mosquitoes here. Then senior monk tells him, shouts at him, we have come here to practice silence. Why are you breaking your silence? Then the senior most monk opens his mouth. He says, you are idiots. You are disturbing silence. I am the only one who is practicing silence. So now this silence is the verbal silence. Verbal silence can be disturbed by mental noise. Vedanta, when it speaks of Mauna, it is not verbal silence. It is a Mauna or the spiritual silence. It is Brahman. Now, if you don't understand this, we make practice of Mauna as a spiritual practice. I think that we are doing something. when any teaching of Vedanta is not a call for action, Vedanta is a teaching for real understanding, clarity. That's called realization. See, any noise in the world will not disturb Brahman. Cannot disturb Brahman. For example, I see a snake, a rope, and confuse it as a snake. Snake is superimposed on rope. The snake cannot affect the rope. Illusionary snake. Similarly, I see water in the mirage. The water in the mirage cannot make the sand wet. The world is mithya or superimposition on Brahman. That cannot affect Brahman. The noise is there, the war is there, anything is there in the world. This Brahman is not affected. This Brahman is like a screen. There's a lot of movies in the movies on the screen. The movies, there's a fire, there's war that cannot affect the screen. So I am that Brahman which is unaffected by sound and silence. That is called Mauna. So Mauna is not a practice. Mauna is Brahman. Now, if Mauna you confuse as practice, then you say, I observe 1 month silence. Your wife also always observes silence. Whenever she is angry, she does not talk to you. She observes silence. So that silence we are not speaking of. Now, does it mean that silence as a spiritual practice is important? It is important. You should learn practice silence for a day, for a week. You should practice silence. That's a spiritual practice. Why silence is important? Because when you don't open your mouth, okay, the mind, the noise in the mind starts opening inside. So you understand how many thoughts are coming in your mind. Your mind is nothing but a thought field. There's so many thoughts are coming. So then you understand, oh, so much of junk is there in my mind. All my suffering is because of junk in my mind, not because of external persons. That's understanding comes. So to recognize the junk in your mind, silence has to be practiced, verbal silence. That's a spiritual practice. But Mauna, when you teach of Mauna, it is not about the verbal science. Mauna is nature of Brahman. Brahman is Mauna. Brahman is the silence, the stillness beyond sound. It's called Parashanti, supreme silence, supreme peace. That's why Brahman is called Turiya. In Mandukya Upanishad, we have heard. This is Vishwa, Taijasa, Prajna, and Turiya. Turiya is beyond 3 states. Beyond waking state, dream state, deep sleep state, witness is there. Witness is always silent. To recognize I am Sakshi, I am witness. The Sakshi is Brahman. That is called Mauna. Practice Mauna, that Mauna. If you want to practice verbal silence, you do it. It's good for your family, it's good for your wife, it's good for your children. They'll be peaceful at least. So there is a story of Veera Brahmendra. Veera Brahmendra is a sage, Gnani. So he was, as a young boy, he was very brilliant. He studied at Gurukula in a young age. He learned a lot of Vedas, Upanishads. Then Guru, he's a brilliant boy, a rank student. The Guru sends him to Mysore Maharaja for apprenticeship. Like we do send him for an internship. He sends to apprenticeship with Mysore Maharaja. So Mysore Maharaja says, Veera Brahmendra, okay, there are so many scholars are coming to ashram, king, scholars, panditas, musicians, dancers come. You get a prize from the king. Show their talent and get prize from the king. So king says, you be the judge for these people and decide what prize should be given. Now Veera Brahmendra, what he does, he keeps very deep questions the panditas, the scholars cannot answer. He points out mistakes in the dancers, so those people don't get the prize. Nobody is getting a prize. Earlier, everybody is getting prize from king, one prize or other. So they are getting very angry and they go and tell the Guru, your Shishya is causing us a lot of disturbance. Then Guru calls Veera Brahmendra and tells him, you are talking too much. Stop talking. You think you are very intelligent? Stop talking. So Veera Brahmendra obeys the words of the Guru, shuts his mouth, stops talking. Then his mental noise opens up. So mentally, there's noise in the mind. When the verbal noise is stopped, mental noise opens up. Then he inquires, who am I? What is this noise coming from? Then he is established in Brahman. It's called Veera Brahmendra. Now, that Brahmendra, Guru offers respect to that Shishya. He is established in Brahman. When physical silence is You go beyond physical silence and mental noise, physical noise and mental noise. There's a stillness of Brahman. That is called Mauna. So when Vedanta says practice Mauna, it is not verbal or mental. It is the spiritual silence, Brahman. So now there is another wrong understanding we have. Okay. So another meaning is that Yato vacho nivartante. So any word cannot describe Brahman. Any word cannot describe Maya, because Brahman is beyond description. Maya is beyond description. Why? To describe anything, it requires a name, form. Shabda, sparsha, rupa, rasa, gandha is required. Or touch, feeling, touch, smell, taste, form is required to describe any object. I can describe a bottle because bottle is a form. Whereas Brahman is formless. Maya is formless. Brahman and Maya cannot describe. Brahman is anirvachaniya. We cannot describe words. So that's why Brahman is called Mauna. Words cannot describe Brahman. Maya cannot be described Brahman. A Gnani is called Mauni, a Muni, because he is established in Brahman. He knows Brahman, you cannot speak about Brahman. You cannot talk about Brahman. You cannot talk about Maya. He has become Muni. So Muni does not mean that he doesn't talk. He can talk about everything. He can talk about car. He can talk about house. He can talk about anything. But he knows we cannot speak about Brahman because Brahman is self. That's why he's called Muni. Now, when we have concept of Muni, Muni means don't talk. It's not about talking about worldly matter, talking about Brahman. Brahman cannot be talked. Brahman can be silence. So the one who is established in Brahman is called Muni, Mauni. So become that Mauni, Muni. That's the meaning of practice of silence, Mauna. So then another misunderstanding is that Dakshinamurti gave his teaching in Mauna. In Dakshinamurti Stotra, it comes Mauna Vyakhyana Prakatita Parabrahma Tattvam. Dakshinamurti teaches in silence to all the Shishyas. So now, this sentence is misunderstood. Mauna Vyakhyana Prakatita Parabrahma Tattvam. Parabrahma Tattva is supreme reality, Brahman. No words can reach there. Yato vacho nivartante. No words can reach Brahman. With a word, I can tell what is apple, but there's no word which can reach Brahman. Word cannot point Brahman. So the Brahman has to be pointed to Mauna, means silence. So then that's what happens. Guru comes. Guru is there. Shishya goes and sits in front of Guru. Guru is silent. Mauna. Then Shishya will not understand anything. Or Shishya can misunderstand. First, Shishya can misunderstand. Shishya can understand also. Guru does not know anything. That's why he is sitting Mauna. Or Guru can misunderstand. Guru is telling me, keep my mouth shut. That is Brahman. That's also not correct. When you are silent, the teaching cannot be given. The teaching can be given with the words only, because words only is the means of communication. So Mauna Vyakhyana Prakatita Parabrahma Tattva means Dakshinamurti taught. That's why the teaching is there. Sadashiva Samarama Sadashiva Dakshinamurti Rishi is the teaching has propagated. It is not this teaching of silence, teaching in silence, teaching about silence. There's a difference. Teaching in silence and teaching about silence. Dakshinamurti taught about Mauna, but he used the words. Now we have a confusion. If Brahman cannot be taught through words, how words can teach Brahman? Words can indicate Brahman without showing Brahman, without pointing Brahman as an object. There are many ways we can indicate using words which indicate something. For example, I am going the street. A lady behind me says, "Excuse me." I look at her. She is saying, "Excuse her." Why should I excuse her? Words are "excuse me." But then I understand, oh, she is asking me to give me way. That means "excuse me" is a word. It's an indirect way of saying, give me the way. So Vedantic teaching is indirectly pointing to Brahman. Indirect words. But words are required to teach. Vedanta indirectly using the process of negation, neti, 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 and there's various techniques in Vedanta to unravel Brahman. So that teaching methodology is called Sampradaya. So Vedanta uses a sampradaya or teaching methodology to teach Brahman. Please understand, Atma Dhnana cannot be taught in silence, but you can talk about silence using words. You can use words to bring silence in you. Silence in you can be indicated through words. That indicating words are called teaching. Dakshinamurti Mauna Vyakhyana. Vyakhyana means teaching. He gave teaching about Mauna. So without understanding this, we think that, oh, Guru is silent, I learn something. You cannot. So Vedanta is like a teaching of any subject. Atma Dhnana is like any other subject. So science I have to learn. So then you go to a science guru. Science guru says Mauna is silence, because ultimate reality is quantum physics. You can't speak, and I'll speak silently. Then what do you understand? He has to teach about it. He has to equations, various examples he has to teach you. Like that, Mauna can be taught through examples and words. But words are not Brahman. Don't catch hold of the words. Sat Chit Ananda is being pointing to consciousness, which is you. That you hold on. It is like a finger pointing the moon. A guru and Shishya and a dog are going for a walk. Shishya asks, how can Brahman be shown? Then Guru points to the moon. Tell the dog, look at the moon. So the dog looks at the finger. Finger is not moon. Finger is pointing to the moon. So the Vedantic words are pointing to the Brahman. Vedantic words are not showing you Brahman. So Vedantic word has to be understood. That is the Mauna Vyakhyana Prakatita Parabrahma Tattvam. So then there is a challenge. The Guru is established in silence. Guru is established in Mauni. Mauni doesn't mean his mouth is shut. He doesn't put a tape to his mouth and doesn't talk. He can talk. But Brahman cannot be pointed as an object. Brahman has to be pointed as a subject. That is the talk. So indirect means through examples, through stories, through illustrations, Guru will try to point to Brahman to Shishya. So the Shishya has to use that indirect means to understand, directly realize the truth. I am Brahman by discrimination. So this is the greatness of Guru. To what cannot be spoken of, anirvachaniyam. Yato vacho nivartati, he communicates through teaching. The greatness of Shishya is understanding the teaching and realizing directly, aparoksha dhnana, I am Brahman. So that is the meaning of Mauna. Then all the teaching says desha. You find a secluded place. You go to a place where there is nobody. Then meditate. Is there a place where there is nobody? Is there a place where there is a secluded place on the earth? Even if you go to Himalayas, the travelers will come, Buddhists will come. The desha means Brahman. Vishwam Vishnu Vashatkaro. That means the whole world is Vishnu. So you have to understand Brahman is all that reality. That is called finding the right place. All the place Brahman is there. That is finding the right place. So other than Brahman, there's nobody. That's why Brahman alone is there. That is the secluded place. That is the place where there's nobody. Brahman alone is there. Everywhere there's Brahman alone. How Brahman alone is there? Everything in the world I see is nothing but manifestation of Brahman. Vishnu is manifesting as Vishwam. Vishwam means what? Existence. Everything exists. The tree exists. Mango, sun exists. Moon exists. Existence is Brahman. Sat. Remove the name and form. What exists is Brahman. So Brahman is everywhere. Brahman is all alone. Advaita, non-dual. So that is the secluded place. Find that secluded place everywhere. You don't. I know people. I want to meditate. I'm trying to find a cave. There are places where caves are rented. The renting of the cave for meditation. That's not the cave. So, ya nisha, nihitam guhayam. Brahman has to be found in the cave of your heart, intellect. In your cave of your heart, there's nobody. Only Brahman is there. That is the secluded place. Without that, you'll find a secluded place where soundproof, okay, where nobody can come and disturb. That is not Brahman. Desha. Then we come to Kala. Kala means time. There's a teaching, okay? You get up at Brahmi Murta, 3:30 in the morning, meditate. That's the right time to meditate. You meditate 3 times, Sandhya Kala, Prata Sandhya, Madhyana, evening Sandhya Kala, 3 times you meditate. So this is actually, a time is prescribed for meditation. So Kala, you have to understand Kala is Brahman. Brahman is Kala. Brahman manifests as time. That is made right time. That's why Purandara Dasa said, Indina Dinave, Shubha Dinavu, Indina Nakshatra, Shubha Nakshatra, Indina Karana, Shubha Karana. This moment now is Brahman. Brahman is eternal now. So right time means be in the eternal now. Always. Brahman, time and space means here and now. You have to find Brahman here and now. Not in a secluded place. Time is now. Oh no, I will find Brahman after I will do sadhana for 10 years. Then you are missing Brahman, because Brahman is not available in time. Brahman is time. Brahman is now. That's why Vishnu Sahasranama says, one of the names of Vishnu is Samvatsara. Yugadi day, I told on the Yugadi day, the meaning of Samvatsara. Samvatsara is the name of Vishnu. So Brahman is time. The time is now. And you have to find Brahman now. Because Brahman is yourself. No, I will find myself after 10 years. That means you are not able to find. How can you find yourself after 10 years? You have to understand, whenever you use the word I am, you are always now. So I was born in Mysore. I grew up in Bangalore. I am going to Bombay. I am does not change. That I am is timeless principle. The timeless principle is Brahman. That is the right time. So then comes the asana. Yoga says you have to have sukhasana. You have to sit in the right posture. You have seen people sitting in Padmasana straight with the back. So you wonder, okay, if you sit half an hour in Padmasana, 10 minutes in Padmasana, your leg will start. So I have rheumatism. Can I do practice yoga? Can I ever realize? Okay. If I sit my legs folded, my joints will pain. I am old man or a young man also cannot sit. Now, Shankaracharya says, don't worry about the sitting posture. Asana is not about sitting posture. Asana means a seat, a mat. For when you meditate, you sit on a mat. Find out the right mat. Oh, which right mat, which brand it is, which market I'll find, what is brand name of? Okay, Yogi brand. Should I find a mat called Yogi brand? No. You have to find a mat. That mat is Brahman. Brahman is the mat of the universe. The entire universe is sitting on Brahman. The entire universe is manifesting in Brahman. Entire universe is dissolved in Brahman. Entire your body, mind, intellect is appearing in Atma, in the waking state, in the dream state. Body, mind, another body and mind, dream body appears and disappears. In deep sleep, everything dissolves. Your Atma is the mat. So find that mat, not a brand, not a brand. Atma is the mat. Brahman is the mat. Sit in Atma means sit with the understanding I am Brahman. That is asana. It doesn't mean that you sit with the Padmasana, you sit in some other posture. No. Whichever posture is comfortable, you sit in that. So there are two asanas which are told in Vedanta yoga, Sukha asana and Siddhasana. Sukha asana is comfortable posture. So Brahman is Sukha. There's no more Sukha, no more bliss than Brahman. Brahman is Sachidananda Swarupa. To sit with the understanding I am Brahman is the Sukha, Sukhasana. Siddhasana is there. There is another complicated posture, Siddhasana. Okay, you press the left foot to your at the Muladhara and put another leg on that. It's called Siddhasana. Many yogis master the Siddhasana. Shankaracharya says Siddhasana means understand what is Siddhasana. Siddhi means realization. What is Siddhi? Brahman has to be realized. How Brahman has to be realized? Brahman cannot be realized as an object. Brahman has to be realized, I am Brahman. Brahman has to be realized, Sarvam Khalu Brahman. All this is Brahman, you have to realize. That is Siddha. So one who is sitting in that posture, that understanding, I am Brahman, is called Siddhasana. So practice Siddhasana. Sit with the understanding, I am Brahman. Then Sri Shankaracharya speaks of Mula Bandha. Yogis give a lot of importance to Mula Bandha. So Mula Bandha is pulling your anus inwards. Okay. Breathe in, pull your anus inwards. Mula Bandha. Muladhara Chakra, you have to pull inwards. So they say, yogis say that it will raise the Kundalini energy, Shakti. Sri Shankaracharya says, Mula Bandha means, please understand what is Mula. Urdhva Moolam Adashaka. The word has root upwards and branch downwards. The root means, Mula means Brahman. Mula means Atma. Mula Bandha means tie your mind to Mula, Atma, Brahman. I am Brahman. Tie your thoughts to I am Brahman. Aham Brahmasmi thought, you tie it. That is called Mula Bandha. Not pressing your leg to your Muladhara Chakra. Okay? So, root called Brahman nourishes the entire world. Go to the thought, I am Brahman. That is called Muladhara. Then Samatvam. In yoga, there's a balance. You have to have balance. Samatvam yoga muchyate. You have to balance. Left side has to right side has to be balanced. Your waking state, dream state has to be balanced. Okay, eating food, ahara and vihara has to be balanced. Balance is given importance. Sri Shankaracharya says, how can there be balance? Everything in the world is different. My left hand is different from right hand. There are no two fingers are alike. My left leg is different from right leg. How can I achieve balance in my body? So you can achieve balance in your body when you understand everything is Atma. Your left hand is Atma, right hand is Atma, body is Atma, everything is Atma. That is called Samatvam. Without understanding Atma, you cannot, body is Atma, you cannot achieve Samatvam. Otherwise, you're struggling with the body. You're trying to balance the body. It's not about balancing the body. Samatvam means understanding everything is Atma. Please understand, the real understanding is, I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm not the intellect. Nanu, Nanembudu, Nanalla, Ideha, Manabuddhi, Nanalla, Sachidanandatma, Shivananani, Shivoham, Shivoham, Shivoham. I'm not the body, I'm not the mind, I'm not the intellect. This understanding is real understanding. But then you have to understand immediately, the body is Atma, mind is Atma, intellect is Atma. So understanding that body is Atma, mind is Atma, intellect is Atma is called Samatvam, balance. Because when body is Atma, my left hand is same as my right hand. Both are Atma. My face is same as my chest. Both are Atma. That is called Samatvam. So it's like understanding necklace is different, chain is different, ring is different. If I have to make Samatvam, I have to melt necklace, chain and ring. Then it will become gold. Don't have to do that. Understand necklace is gold, chain is gold, ring is gold. That is called Samatvam. So then lot of importance is given to practice of drishti. Okay. So a lot of people say, oh, you have to do third eye meditation. Third eye meditation is your mind has to focus on the forehead here. Or nasikagra drishti, focus at the tip of the nose. So drishti or seeing is important because when you open your eyes, lot of thoughts will enter, world will enter into your mind. The world enters into you through eyes. Okay. Closing your eyes is beneficial because you're stopping, you're closing the gate for the world. World is closed now. But when you close your eyes, internal cinema will open, mind, thoughts will open up. Dream world opens, thoughts will open up in the mind. So then yogis say, don't close your mind, don't close your eyes, don't open your eyes. Close your eyes, half. Chakshur, unmilitam netra, half eyes open, half eyes. Okay, eyes should be half open. So you look at the tip of the nose. So then we have understood. Gnani means somebody who is neither open eyes nor closed eyes, sitting with half closed eyes. Then we start looking for such a Gnani, one who is sitting with half closed eyes. Then all the artists will write a picture, a Gnani with the half closed eyes. So then we think, oh, Gnani means somebody who is closed his eyes. He doesn't close his eyes or doesn't open his eyes are half closed. This is a wrong understanding of Gnana. So drishti in Vedanta means Gnana drishti. This is charma chakshu. The eye is made up of charma or skin. So Vedanta is not about drishti. It is not speaking about charma chakshu, drishti. It's speaking of gnana drishti. You have to have gnana drishti. So in gnana drishti, outer reality called world and inner reality called Atma, all are Brahman. That gnana drishti you have to develop. That is called focusing of the eyes, vision. So you should not go by rudartha, means external meaning. Deeper meaning of nasikagra drishti, deeper meaning of third eye meditation is understand the inner reality and outer reality is Brahman. For that, intellect has to become sharp and subtle. It has to understand the teaching of Vedanta to Shravana, Manana, Nididhyasa. So that is Gnana Drishti. So make your Drishti Gnana, otherwise you are just tiring your eyes get tired. So there are people who focus on the third eye, because third eye meditation, they say, understand, you can see everything, understand everything. What they don't understand is third eye is Gnana Chakshu. When the wisdom eye opens, you understand everything is Brahman. That's the meaning of understanding everything. So then also Jnana Drishti means where there is no Triputi. Brahman is beyond Triputi. Atma is beyond Triputi. Triputi means three. In any process, Jnana, Jnaya, Jnatra is there. Knower, known, process of knowing is there. Or seer, seen, process of seeing is there. Hearer, hearing, and heard is there. That means everything has, every experience has three aspects. Shravana, every experience has three. That threefold experience is split into three. Now, where there is no three, you have to go there. That is actually Jnana Drishti. Where there is no three, oh, I am seeing this banana. So in seeing, this banana is there, object is there, I am the seer, subject is there, and seeing is there. Are there three? Is there really Triputi? No. The banana and I are connected through seeing. The seeing alone is there. If seeing alone is there, seeing, knowing is there. Knowing is awareness is there. So in the awareness, seeing comes, seeing goes. Hearing comes, hearing goes. Awareness alone is there. I am that awareness. I am Brahman. There our drishti has to go. Jnana drishti. That is called right kind of vision. Then there is a pranayama. Yoga gives a lot of importance to pranayama. And it's very important also. Before Sandhya Vandana, we do pranayama. Before any puja, we have to do pranayama. Because mind has to be silenced. Shankaracharya gives the jnana meaning of pranayama. Now, why pranayama is important in yoga? When you control the breath, the mind gets controlled. Okay? Body gets controlled. So now, here you look at the yoga. Yoga starts from the body and goes inwards. Annamaya kosha is the outermost. Pranamaya kosha is inside. Manomaya kosha is inside. Vijnanamaya kosha is inside. The physical body is outside. Pranamaya kosha is, the vital body is inside. Manomaya kosha is inside. So through outer breath, you are controlling the inner. Yoga is the outer to inner journey. But Vedanta is from inner to outer journey. Inner to outer. Vedanta says, don't worry about pranamaya kosha or breath. Focus on intellect, buddhi. Vijnanamaya kosha. Because buddhi has to become the master. Okay. So now, the clarity of understanding in buddhi is pranayama. So in Veda yoga, there's a rechaka. Rechaka means leaving out the thought, leaving out the breath. Carbon dioxide has to be dropped. That's called rechaka. Breathe out. So Vedanta teaching is in intellect, all the thoughts you drop. That means you drop the world. That's rechaka. The world is mithya. Every object in the world, name and form is mithya. That is rechaka. Throwing out. Puraka means taking inwards. Take the right thought. Brahman alone satya. I am Brahman. Sarvam khalu is Brahman. That thought you take. That's called Puraka. Kumbhaka means holding the breath. So holding the breath means Aham Brahmasmi. I am Brahman. Sarvam khalu is Brahma. That thought has to be strengthened. That's called Kumbhaka. So it's already 8 o'clock. I'll stop at this stage. I'll take up Pratyahara, Dharana, Dhyana, Samadhi in the next class. Just to summarize, I want to bring the summary. Sri Shankaracharya elaborates Shravana, Manana, Nidhyasa process. Shravana, Manana, Nidhyasa is a single activity focusing on strengthening Aham Brahmasmi thought, eliminating all thoughts and vasanas, focusing on I am Brahman, Sarvam Khalu is the Brahma, all this is Brahman. This thought focus is called Shravana, Manana, Nidhyasa. It's a single activity. So he breaks that into 15 steps and compares with the Patanjali Yoga Sutra. Okay. So we have gone up to pranayama. Pratyahara Dharana Dhyana we'll take up next. And finally, it results in Samadhi or Jivan Mukti in case of Vedanta. So Sri Ramana Maharshi tells this same thing as Ashtanga Dhyana. In 8 steps, yoga, Ramana Maharshi maps into Ashtanga Dhyana in the Vichara Sara Sangraha. This also we'll understand in next class. So we are coming to the conclusion of the session. Let us close with a prayer. Then we pray for welfare of the world today. Asatoma Sadgamaya Tamasoma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti 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 Purnamadaha Purnamidam Purnat Purnamuduchyate Purnasya Purnadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti 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 Nanu Nanendu Nanalla Ideha Manabuddhi Nanalla Satidantatma Shivanatani Shivoham 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 Atmadarshanam Brahmadarshanam Brahmadarshanam Satyadarshanam. So in India, our country is going through a lot of trouble. Many people are suffering because of COVID. Let us pray for welfare of all, healing of all by chanting Mahamrityunjaya mantra 3 times. I'll chant, then you can repeat after me. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanat Mrityor Mukshiyamamritat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanat Mrityor Mukshiyamamritat. Om Trayambakam Yajamahe Sugandim Pushtivardhanam Urvarukamiva Bandhanat Mrityor Mukshiya Mamritat. May all people who are suffering, may all of them receive divine grace. They become free from suffering. May country, India as a country, come out of this trouble caused by COVID. May all prosper. Lokaha samastaha Sukino bhavantu. Lokaha samastaha Sukino bhavantu. Lokaha samastaha Sukino bhavantu. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om. With that, we are concluding today's session of Aproksha Anubhuti.